Hey everybody, Tim here with today's review of Doctor Who, story number 23, The Ark. I really enjoyed this episode. So the first Doctor has had, really hit and miss. Some of them are great, some of them are misses. I've kind of felt like the last couple have been a little bit more of misses than anything, but this one was really good. Towards the end, it started getting a little slow, but the first three are super, well written, well acted. It is 4 episodes, like all of the remaining First Doctor stories are, but all 4 are intact, so that's a plus. And just like from the opening shot of this story, where it's the alien, and you can clearly see like the outline of the actor's mouth, but that's where the eyeball is. I guess they walked around with ping pong balls or something in their mouth, and it's the Monoids. And it was just really well done. I realized by today's standards, the outfits and the props and stuff like that were not really that great, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. So the Doctor, Steven, and the new companion, Dodo, shows up on this area. They don't know what it is at first. And at first it's almost like a zoo, which is kind of interesting because there's all of these animals that were actually lent to the people, like the production team from the zoo, which is kind of unheard of. And so there's an elephant and a snake and all sorts of stuff. But they realize that there's an iron sky, which is the name of the title, actually. There's an iron sky and there's no clouds, and then the Doctor's like, it's moving. So they think that they're in a zoo, and but it's also like a ship of some sort. Well, by the time they actually meet the inhabitants of it, which are people and the Monoids, they realize that it's actually an ark. And Dodo even says, "You mean like Noah's Ark?" Well, it takes place like 1 billion years in the future, I think is what it was. Maybe 1 million. I forgot to look at how many zeros there were. And the Earth is dying, and it's kind of funny because the 9th Doctor comes back to the same time period. The Earth is dying, and they have sent out an ark to a new planet to kind of repopulate. And so everybody's shrunk down to microfilm and stuff like that, except for a few that are around us. Well, Dodo has a cold, and throughout this whole story, the Doctor's just mean to Dodo, where he's like, quit your sniffling, learn to speak proper English. He just attacks her nonstop throughout this whole storyline. Well, her cold, 1 billion years in the future, people are not, they don't have the same immune system, so her cold starts transferring to other people, and they actually start dying. And so a lot of this whole story is, or at least the first 2 episodes, are basically them putting the Doctor and Dodo on trial for purposely trying to kill people. By the time we get to the end of the 2nd episode, the Doctor has found a cure and starts making everybody better, including Steven. Steven was super sick at one point and kind of makes everything better. They get in the TARDIS and they take off. And that alone, that could have been a really interesting 2-part episode. I would have been fine with it. Well, after they dematerialize, they rematerialize in the exact same spot. And even the Doctor's like, this is weird. What's going on here? Well, it turns out that they've gone 700 years into the future, so the Ark has now gotten to the planet that it was destined to get to. And throughout the first 2 parts, you see all sorts of stuff, they're building a statue, and they show you, this is what the statue's going to look like when it's done. Well, 700 years from, where they're at now, the statue's complete, but it's not a human, it's a monoid. So it turns out that the Doctor cured everybody and left, and then eventually the cold actually came back and weakened the human beings, and the Monoids took that as their chance to basically have an uprising. And so now Monoids are in control and humans are the servants. It's almost like Planet of the Apes or something. And now they can talk. At first they couldn't talk. They talked through sign language. Now they have these voice boxes, and they have little guns and stuff like that. And it's kind of just interesting to listen to the other people around the Ark talk about how oh, years and years ago, there was an old man and a young man and a woman, and they're the ones who named the ship the Ark. And the guy's like, that's a legend. And it's oh, we literally just saw that, and now it's here again. So it's kind of fun. Of course, as it's any sci-fi type, especially Doctor Who, the Doctor has to fight the Monoids on the planet, and they basically have to retake over the ship. Everything ends well, and we go back to kind of where we were. Overall, I thought it was a really good story. I really liked it. Like I said, by the time we got to the end, I was a little bit burnt out. but I did think it was a really interesting concept, seeing the Monoids go from the servants to now being in charge. I really liked it. This also has one of the better cliffhangers where the doctor, they get back in the TARDIS and the doctor starts coughing and Dodo's like, oh, did you get my cold? And the doctor's literally disappearing. And it's like, what is this? Like, sometimes the cliffhangers are just like, oh, okay, I can wait. This one's like really grasping, and I really, really liked it. So for those who have seen the arc, what did you think about it? What did you think about the characters, the time period, the 700-year jump? Go ahead, let me know. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for The Celestial Toymaker.